Nina stood still in front of the tall glass building. People rushed past her, holding coffee cups and briefcases. She held her phone tightly, reading the email over and over again. Dear Nina, thank you for coming in. While we were impressed by your qualifications, we've decided to move forward with another candidate. We wish you the best. She blinked hard, trying to stop the tears. It wasn't just any job. This was the position she had dreamed about for years. She had prayed, worked hard, and walked into that interview full of hope. At home, Nina tossed her bag on the couch and sank to the floor. Her roommate, Titi, peeked out of the kitchen. Nina, how did it go? Nina didn't answer. She just shook her head and stared at the ceiling. They said no. They said I'm not what they're looking for, Nina whispered. Titi walked over and hugged her. I'm sorry, babe. You really gave it your all. Why do I always get overlooked? Nina asked quietly. Am I not enough? Days passed. Nina barely left her room. She ignored calls. She stopped updating her Instagram page where she shared natural skincare tips. Her jars of oils and butters gathered dust on the shelf. One night, she sat in bed scrolling through her old videos, the ones where people commented, "You saved my skin," or "You should sell this." She smiled weakly, remembering the passion she once had. The next morning, Nina stood in front of the mirror. Her eyes were tired, but something in her heart stirred. They didn't reject me, she said to her reflection. They redirected me. That day, she cleared her desk and brought out her small blender. She began mixing again, shea butter, coconut oil, turmeric, and honey. The room filled with sweet, earthy scents. She posted a video on Instagram, rebuilding from scratch. Here's how I make my glow oil. No filter needed. People responded quickly. Comments poured in. Orders followed. Every day, Nina worked harder. She designed new labels, learned how to package products professionally, and opened a small online shop. She even took a free online marketing class. Sometimes, she stayed up till 3 a.m., filling jars and wrapping boxes by candlelight. One night, Titi walked in and gasped. Girl, you've turned this place into a mini factory. Nina laughed. Better to be rejected and productive than stuck in tears. Months passed. Her page grew. She got featured by a skincare influencer who loved her scrub. Sales tripled overnight. A small beauty store in Lekki offered to stock her products. One Sunday evening, as she was packing a shipment, her phone buzzed. Email from the Wellness Group, the same company that rejected her. Hi Nina, we've been watching your brand grow and we're impressed. We would love to collaborate with you on an upcoming skincare campaign. Let us know if you're interested. Nina stared at the screen, her mouth open. Titi walked in with a bowl of noodles. What happened? She asked. Nina showed her the email. Titi burst into laughter. Ah, look at God. These people want to eat from the table they refuse to let you sit at. Nina chuckled, then typed a short reply. Thank you for your kind words. At this time, I'm fully focused on expanding my brand. I'll have to pass on this offer. Best of luck with your campaign. She hit send with a confident smile. Later that night, she lit a candle, played soft music, and sat on her balcony. She looked up at the stars, wrapped in her shawl. Rejection had crushed her, yes. But it also forced her to discover her strength, her vision, her fire. She whispered, "Thank you for saying no. If you hadn't, I wouldn't have found my yes." 2 years later, Nina stood backstage at a conference hall in Cape Town, South Africa. Her name flashed across a giant screen. Keynote speaker, Nina Olayemi, from Rejection to global skincare boss. She adjusted her bright Ankara jacket and took a deep breath. Her assistant, a young woman named Blessing, handed her a bottle of water. Nina, the crowd is huge. You're trending on Twitter already. Nina smiled nervously. Do I look okay? You look like a queen, Blessing said with a grin. The host called her name, and the room erupted in applause. As she walked onto the stage, lights followed her. She stood tall, confident, and radiant. She looked at the audience, hundreds of eyes watching. Her voice was steady. 3 years ago, I sat on my bedroom floor, holding a rejection letter. I thought it was the end. But rejection didn't break me. It built me. People clapped. I started with N5000, 2 jars of shea butter, and a broken heart. Today, my brand ships to 12 countries and employs over 20 staff members. The hall exploded in cheers. After the event, a long line of young women formed to meet her. One stepped forward, holding a small jar. Nina, this product cleared my acne and changed my life. But more than that, your story gave me hope. Nina hugged her. You're why I do this. Another girl whispered, I wanted to give up on everything until I heard you. Tears welled in Nina's eyes. Don't give up, she said. Your no today could be the yes that launches your destiny. Back at her hotel room, Nina curled up on the couch, reflecting on how far she had come. Her phone rang. It was her mother. Mama, she said, smiling. My daughter, I watched your speech online. You made me cry, Mama said in Yoruba. I'm so proud of you. Nina closed her eyes. Thank you, Mama. I wouldn't have survived without your prayers. My dear, you didn't just survive. You soared. Weeks later, she sat in a quiet corner of an airport, waiting to board her flight to Dubai for another partnership meeting. A man in a sharp suit walked up to her. Excuse me, are you Nina Olayemi? She nodded cautiously. I'm from the wellness group. You may not remember me, but I was on the panel that interviewed you years ago. She raised an eyebrow. Oh. He looked embarrassed. I just wanted to say, we were wrong. You were more than qualified. We didn't see your worth, but the world clearly does. Nina smiled politely. Sometimes closed doors lead to bigger buildings. By her 5th year, Nina launched a mentorship program called The Rejected Stone. She visited schools and women's centers, sharing her journey. At one workshop, she said, don't let rejection make you small. Let it challenge you to become more. She sponsored girls interested in entrepreneurship and offered grants to struggling mothers. She also opened a production center in her hometown, employing widows and single mothers. Empowered women empower nations, she often said. One evening, as the sun set over her new Lagos penthouse, she stood on the balcony with Blessing. Can I ask something? Blessing said, if you could go back and get that job you were rejected from, would you take it now? Nina laughed. Never. Why? Because that no pushed me to build something that belonged to me. I didn't just find success. I found purpose. Years down the line, a biography was written about her titled, Glow from the Ashes. A film followed. Young girls quoted her on social media. Her brand became a household name across Africa and the diaspora. But Nina remained humble. Whenever she was asked how she made it, she always said, rejection is not the end. Sometimes, it's the redirection that leads you to your real destiny. With fame came new pressures. Nina was no longer just a small business owner. She was now a global brand. Her products were stocked in stores across London, New York, and Accra. She had a small team of executives running daily operations, and her face appeared on magazine covers. But success, as she soon learned, also attracted wolves. One afternoon, her accountant, Remy, walked into her office looking disturbed. Nina, we have a problem, he said, laying down some documents. She scanned through the papers. Her eyes widened. What? This can't be right. Are these real? Remy nodded. Yes. Sandra, your operations manager in the UK, has been moving money into a private account. Nina's heart sank. Sandra was someone Nina trusted deeply. She had mentored her from the beginning. They had shared meals, prayers, and dreams. That evening, Nina called Sandra via video. Sandra, I need to talk to you about some irregularities in the account. Sandra's face changed. Nina, before you say anything, please let me explain. You've been stealing? Nina asked, her voice breaking. I was going to replace the money. I swear. Things got hard. I treated you like a sister, Nina said quietly. Why didn't you talk to me? Sandra started crying. Please don't press charges. I beg you. Nina ended the call and sat still, her heart heavy. The next day, her legal team asked, "Should we arrest her?" Nina shook her head slowly. "Let her go. But block her from everything. You're not pressing charges?" "No," she said. "Let God and time judge. I won't let bitterness destroy what I've built." News of the betrayal leaked online, and people expected Nina to go on a rage. Instead, she issued a short public statement. "I've learned that not all storms come to destroy. Some come to clear your path. I forgive and I move on." The world applauded her grace. Still, the betrayal left scars. Nina spent nights questioning herself, wondering who else might be pretending around her. Her mother called one evening. "My child, do not stop being good because someone did evil. Keep your heart clean." "I know, Mama," Nina replied. "But it hurts." "Of course it hurts. But pain can either harden you or grow you. Choose to grow." That night, Nina journaled her feelings, lit a candle, and played worship music. "I will rise again," she whispered. "I always do." Months passed. She tightened her team, improved her auditing system, and brought in trusted advisors. Her brand bounced back stronger. In a shocking twist, an international investor from Dubai reached out. "We've watched you. Your brand aligns with our vision. We'd like to invest $1.5 million to help you scale globally." Nina blinked in disbelief. This is real?" "Yes. We believe in the woman behind the brand." With that investment, Nina expanded to the Middle East and Asia. She launched a men's skincare line and started a Glow Academy for young entrepreneurs. She sat on global panels, sharing stages with top CEOs. But in every speech, she reminded the world, "I wasn't born lucky. I was built through fire, tears, and faith." One evening, while hosting a private dinner with close friends and partners, Blessing raised a toast. "To the woman who turned rejection into legacy." Everyone clinked their glasses. Nina looked around the room, powerful women, grateful employees, smiling faces. Her eyes shone with quiet joy. "If you had told me years ago that this would be my life, I'd have laughed," she said. "But I now know, what breaks you can also shape you, if you refuse to stay broken." Later that night, alone in her room, she opened the drawer where she kept her old rejection letter. She smiled and whispered, "Thank you for not picking me." She placed the letter back, shut the drawer gently, and turned off the light. It was at a charity gala in Nairobi when Nina met him. He wasn't flashy. He didn't crowd her like others often did. He simply walked up, smiled, and said, "You're Nina Olayemi, right? My mother uses your hair butter. She won't let anyone touch her head unless it's in your brand." Nina laughed. "That's probably the best compliment I've gotten in weeks." "I'm David," he said. "I run a tech company, but I promise I'm not boring." They met for coffee a few days later. Then dinner. Then long walks by the lake. He wasn't intimidated by her success. He admired it. He never tried to shrink her light. Instead, he stood beside her asking, "How can I support you?" "I don't need saving," she once told him. "I know," he replied. "I just want to walk with you while you conquer." For the first time in years, Nina felt safe enough to love. A year later, under the golden glow of a quiet garden wedding, she said, "I do." Not because she needed a man to complete her, but because she had found someone who didn't compete with her peace. The world buzzed with excitement. Nina Olayemi is married. But Nina kept the moment private, sacred. "I've given so much of myself to the world," she told Titi, her old roommate who now worked as her PR head. This is just for me." Months after the wedding, Nina sat in a hospital room, clutching a small white stick. 2 pink lines. She stared at it in silence. David stepped in, holding groceries. One look at her face, and he dropped everything. "Is that?" She nodded, eyes wide. They both laughed. Then cried. Then held each other tight. "I'm going to be a mum," she whispered. "No," David said, kissing her forehead. "You already are." Pregnancy was not easy. Between morning sickness, cravings, board meetings, and brand expansion, Nina often felt stretched. But she refused to pause her dreams. She learned to pace herself. She moved meetings online. She appointed 2 new directors. She even hosted a pregnancy skincare campaign with herself as the face. "You're glowing, Ma," one staff member said. Nina smiled. That's what happens when love and purpose grow inside you. When the contractions came, they came fast. At 3 a.m., David raced her to the hospital. Hours later, the cry of a baby girl filled the room. Nina wept as they placed the child in her arms. "She looks like you," David whispered, brushing Nina's hair back. "She looks strong," Nina said. "Just like we prayed." They named her Zara, which means radiance. Motherhood tested Nina in new ways. Sleepless nights, boardroom decisions, dirty diapers, global flights. But she found her rhythm. One day she breastfed Zara while signing a major contract via Zoom. "Ma, should I call back later?" the investor asked. Nina chuckled. "No need. This is what balance looks like." She hired a full-time nanny but refused to miss the small moments. First tooth, first steps, first words. Zara's favorite word was mama. One night, as Nina tucked her in, Zara asked, "Mama, are you magic?" Nina smiled. "No, baby. I'm just a woman who didn't give up." At her next keynote speech, Nina carried Zara on stage. "I built this empire with hope, sweat, and faith," she told the crowd. "And now I'm building a home with love, patience, and grace." The hall stood in applause as mother and daughter waved. Years later, when Zara was 7, she wrote in a school assignment, "My mummy is my hero. She makes creams that help people shine. But I think she's the real glow." Nina framed it. Because that, more than money, awards, or magazine covers, was her true reward. From a rejected job applicant to a global brand leader. From a lonely heart to a woman deeply loved. From tears on the floor to lullabies in the nursery. Nina didn't just survive, she bloomed. And whenever life tested her, she whispered the same truth. "I may bend, but I won't break. I've been rejected before, and I came out stronger." Years passed. Nina Olayemi became a name taught in schools, studied in business classes, and whispered with admiration in women's circles across continents. But for Nina, the most meaningful legacy wasn't in her factories, her Forbes feature, or her best-selling books. It was in the quiet. In early mornings, when little Zara crawled into her bed and whispered, "Can I sleep on your chest?" In the garden, where she and David held hands, talking not about contracts or campaigns, but about childhood memories and dreams for their daughter. In mentoring circles, where she sat barefoot on woven mats, telling young women, "Don't wait to be chosen. Choose yourself." And in every jar of cream that went out into the world with her initials, N.O., standing not just for her name, but for her no to failure, her no to staying broken, and her no to limits. One evening, while sitting on her porch in her hometown, now retired from active business but still vibrant in spirit, a young journalist asked her, "If you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?" Nina smiled, looking at the horizon where the sun melted into gold. "I'd tell her, one day, your pain will have a purpose. Don't rush the fire. Let it shape you." She sipped her tea, Zara now a teenager reading under the tree, David preparing dinner inside. And with the wind blowing through her hair, she closed her eyes, wrapped in peace. She had been rejected, but she came out stronger. And because she did, so would many others. Please, subscribe to African Tales by Helen Gold for more African stories. Comment, like, share, and turn on your notification bell. Thanks for always watching our story.